Hey guys, welcome to My Class Policies and Rules. Now, it's important to know what each teacher's policies and rules are. Some of the stuff we're going to have is going to be very similar, but we're all also going to have some areas where we're allowed to have our own individual policies and rules that might differ a little bit. So you need to make sure you're aware of what's allowed in one classroom might not be allowed in another classroom and vice versa. So also, as we go through this video, I'm not going to read for you word for word everything on the slide. I'm going to give you a summary. This PowerPoint that I'm going through in the video is posted on the Schoology page under the class information folder. So if you want to pause the video and read the slide or look at the PowerPoint on your own, please go ahead and do that to make sure you understand what we're talking about. So the first thing we're going to talk about is homework. Now, homework will be given, but it will be changed depending on the type of lesson we do. We'll be doing two types of lessons this year. One will be our traditional lesson, where we learn, take notes, and practice some stuff in class, and then you have homework to practice on your own at home. And we'll expect that homework to be done the next day, and we'll check that. Also, we'll have what we call a flipped lesson, where at home you'll actually watch a video and take some notes, very similar to the video you're watching here, and then when you come to class, we'll actually give you the worksheet, which would have been the traditional homework. You'll work on the worksheet in class where you can ask questions, get help, and as well, we will still expect to see that worksheet done the next day. So if you don't finish that worksheet in class, we will expect you to finish that outside of class for the next day. Okay? So let's talk about grading homework assignments. Homework assignments will be a 2, a 1, or a 0. Essentially, 2 means you completed, you attempted, I should say, every problem and put legitimate effort and showed your work. That gets you full credit. 1 means you attempted every problem with showing work. Not every problem, but more than half. So you're in the 75% range, 60% range, whatever. More than half or more, and you'll get a 1 out of 2. You get a 0 if you attempted less than half. So yes, you can still do some problems in a homework assignment and get a 0. We are expecting you to be trying at least half of the problems to be getting any credit. Okay, now, it is up to our discretion to determine whether we feel you put legitimate effort into a problem. I know from back in my days, there can be times where you just write a bunch of numbers down and a bunch of work to make it look like you tried a problem when you really didn't put any thought into it. It's up to our discretion to determine whether you really tried and put effort into a problem or whether it's kind of mathematical gibberish. So a few other things about our homework policies. One, notice we don't grade the accuracy of homework. We grade the effort you put forth to try and master the material, okay? There will be times you have to ask questions about the assignments when we come back to class, so make sure you're aware of that. You're figuring out what questions you have. That's the time to make mistakes, to get things wrong, and to fix some things you don't understand. On tests and quizzes is not the time to be realizing you don't understand stuff. If you are absent the day we assign a homework, I'll give it to you the next day in class, and you will be expected to then have that the following day. If you're absent the day we check an assignment in class, I will expect you to show that to me the next day you're in class there. I will give you until the end of the unit to show me the absent homework assignments, but they will be 0s until you show them to me. And if we get to the end of the unit and you haven't shown them to me, they will stay 0s. Now, one thing I will allow you to do is if you don't get full credit, you can finish the homework assignment completely finished, correctly completely finished, and show it to me, and I'll give you half the points back. So let's say you just blank and forget to do a homework assignment, and you get a 0. But you do the homework assignment, you show it to me the next day, I'll give you a 1. Right? Now, you might say, well, that's just 1 point, but that's really 50%. You go from a 0% to a 50%. That's a pretty big jump for doing some work. One last thing about homework is I will not be entering each individual homework assignment in our gradebook that's online, that's on PowerSchool. What I'll be doing is keeping track of all of our assignments over a unit, and then when we get to the end of the unit, I'll put in one homework grade that covers all of those homework assignments. I have yet to talk with the other teachers. I may reward students who do well on the assessments by giving them full credit on homework assignments, but that's something we'll have to discuss as algebra teachers, and I will let you know what we're going to do exactly as a reward for a good grade on a unit test once we get going in the year. Next up to talk about is our assessment policies, quizzes and tests. Quizzes are pretty straightforward. They're going to be smaller in the amount of material that's covered, and they'll probably be more often than tests. Tests are going to be generally a cumulative test over an entire unit or a part of a unit if a unit's really long. We'll have multiple tests breaking up that material. A test will be longer than a quiz. It'll be worth more points than a quiz. Okay, one important thing to notice is that I do expect you to stay quiet and be respectful of your students that are still taking their assessments if you finish early. So please bring a book to read. Please bring other work to work on in a class. If we're doing flipped lessons, you'll have a video that you can start watching on your phone. My biggest thing is just be respectful of the other students, have something to do. Now, let's talk about corrections/retakes. In other words, getting points back on your tests and quizzes. We do not believe that it's in your best interest to take a test or a quiz once, and if you fail it, to give you no opportunity to improve that grade. There's no motivation there for you to go back and make sure you learn the material you missed. So what you need to do to improve your grade is a two-part process. First, you have to do corrections. You have to completely correct every problem you got wrong. So if there's 20 problems and you got something wrong on 8 of them, you have to redo those 8 problems. You don't have to redo the 12 you got right. Then, once you've done those corrections, you need to meet with myself or another math teacher, which could be in the ARC, or in your study hall or anywhere you can meet with another math teacher to have those corrections checked. So it's corrections are done by all the problems you got wrong and checked by another teacher. Once you have that, bring the corrections to me, the checked corrections, and we'll schedule a date for you to do a retake. The retake will be a very similar assessment, but it won't be exactly the same. And you'll only have to retake the problems that you got wrong, the problems that you corrected. What we'll do then is we'll take the score of your original test or quiz and the retake, we'll average the two, and you'll get that new grade. So you can see the example below. If you got a 65 on the test and 88 on the retake, we average those two, and the 65 goes up to a 77. That's 12 extra credit points there for doing the corrections and getting the retake. Now notice, if you do worse on the retake, it's not going to help you. It won't hurt you. We won't count it against you, but you actually have to learn the material and do better on the retake to earn those points. So let's now talk about some classroom rules. Pretty straightforward. Tardiness. If you are not in your seat when the bell rings, you may be marked tardy. Okay, consequences for the tardies are in the handbook. I may allow you to go to the bathroom if you ask, but please try and get to class, be in your seat when the bell rings. You have a 5-minute passing period to use the bathroom to get there. If there are extenuating circumstances, I understand sometimes you have to walk across the whole school, and that does take some time. Talk to me. We'll work something out. Absences. If you are absent, you are responsible for materials you missed. I will always provide you any worksheets, any notes, any study guides, things like that that we have in class, but you're going to be responsible for picking those up. It'll take me a little bit, but once we get into the school year and our class roster gets set, I will have a folder in the back of the room for every student in my class where you can go and check for any missing work that you had from when you were absent. Let's talk about now tests and quizzes from when you were absent. If you are absent for a test or a quiz, you make that up with me. I do not put them in the testing center. I want you taking them where I'm at, so if you have questions, you can ask me. Also, that allows me to make sure that you're getting the same opportunity that the people had in class to take that test or that quiz. Your deadline for making up tests and quizzes from being absent is the last full day of school before finals, right? That's the cutoff. So if in August you miss a test, you can make that up all the way until December. I wouldn't recommend it. I have seen students get points off pretty much, more points off pretty much the longer they wait is a one-to-one correlation there. But you have that opportunity to take that test or that quiz in a long time. It's up to you to be responsible to schedule that and be diligent to stay on that schedule. Okay, let's talk about food. Now, here's the deal. I'm going to give you a chance to be responsible. I will allow snacks to be eaten during class. Now, let's be very clear. A snack is generally a single food item, a bag of chips, a bag of cereal, a granola bar, a bag of pretzels, or something like that. It is not things that are made in the cafeteria. Cookies, hash browns, french fries, burgers, pizza. None of that stuff is allowed in class. Prepackaged food from the cafeteria is allowed. So you can get a bag of chips, you could get a Pop-Tart or something, but no bringing up, an entire salad or something from the lunchroom. I do reserve the right that if eating becomes a distraction, such as you're loudly sharing it with people around you, we're throwing food, it becomes a distraction to class. We will lose that privilege for an indefinite amount of time. So please be responsible. I'm giving you the opportunity to have a privilege. Be responsible, and you get to keep it. If you're not responsible, you lose it. Let's talk about media devices. That means phones, iPods, iPads, Nintendo DSs, whatever qualifies as a media device. When the bell rings for my class, it goes away and it stays away. I'm okay if it accidentally goes off. Turn it off, let it not be a big deal. But I do not want to see it out unless I have specifically directed you that you should have it out. The first time you have it out, I'm going to take it for the rest of the period and give it back to you. That's your warning. The second time it's out, I will be taking it and giving it to deans, and you'll have to get it back from them. This is very clear, guys. No phones, no iPads, nothing allowed in class unless I have told you that it is okay to do so. And I will be very clear about when it is okay. If you're unsure of whether I have been clear, don't take it out. Okay, I will be very clear about when it's okay. If you want to ask, I'm fine with that. Raise your hand, Mr. Dahl. Is it okay to have a phone out right now? That's a good question to ask. If you are unsure, but please make sure you don't have them out. I don't want to have to get you in trouble, but we've got to make sure we're consistent with these rules on phones here. Okay, staying in your seat. One thing of my big pet peeves is people who get out of their seat and wander the room for the purpose of talking to other students while we're doing something in class. Okay? You need to stay in your seat. If you have a legitimate reason to be out of your seat, throwing something away, sharpening a pencil, you need a tissue, that's fine. Choose an appropriate time when I'm addressing the entire class, not an appropriate time. Choose an appropriate time to get up out of your seat, go do that, and get right back in your seat. Don't stop and talk to two people on your way to the sharpener and then another person on your way back. That's going to frustrate me. Okay, guys? Please make sure we're using class time to help us learn, and we won't have any problems with that. Last thing, any other items that I haven't addressed in this video will be handled per the student handbook, or if anything does come up that is not technically in the student handbook, myself and the other staff reserve the right to come up with a fair policy and consequence for that item. Again, if you have any questions on this, please ask me in class. And make sure that you understand everything that I'm expecting of you guys. Getting help. The last thing we're going to talk about here is how to get help. Well, I'm available by appointment before school. During volleyball season, it's going to be a little tough. We'll be pretty busy, but after school by appointment. And then I'll be in the ARC third period. And fourth and seventh, I'll either be in my room, 2360, or in the math office, 2320. Please, guys, come get help. If you got questions on material, if you just need to hang out and somebody to talk to, I'm glad to do that and help you, give you a place to do some homework, to do some other things if you need a break from the lunchroom or wherever it is. I'm really looking forward to having you guys in class. I love teaching because I love working with you guys. That's what makes this job great and exciting and rewarding. So here's to a great year. I'm looking forward to it already.